Laurie Huston's News for the Heart is dedicated to helping you give a voice to your own soul. Our hearts have the power to free us from pain and the struggles that keep us from awakening to our true essence. Join Laurie now as we delve into our heart and soul to find the path that will open us to the possibilities and lead us to the life we love to live.
And good afternoon. This is News for the Heart. And today I have Tracy McBurney with me. Always a pleasure to have Tracy. We did a little bit of work before, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a few things, but one of the nice things is just recently I've been accepted onto Amazon. So if you are looking for our shows, you just have to say, Alexa, please, let's listen to News for the Heart with Laurie Huston. And it'll be there. Yay! So we got lots of stuff happening with the show being very well received now. All right. So we thought we'd talk about immunity because I've been under the weather for the last couple weeks, and I didn't know what was going on because it seemed to be really, really heavy and really it's been hard. It's been very challenging. So we did some work around that before we started, and I think we're going to continue a little bit of that work, or at least talking about what it is that we're talking about, which is about immunity. So welcome to the show, Trace.
Hey, Laurie. Good to be here.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. So we were discussing we were discussing lungs. We were doing some background stuff before we got on the call, as you said. And I was just saying to you that a couple of weeks back, very interesting thing occurred with a client, and I wondered if it had some relevance for you. And it turned out it did. Mm-hmm. And so it brings forward, I think, some interesting tidbits. We may get a couple of people shying away and going, oh, this is just a little weird for me. Off the call they go, but hey, I can only deliver what I can deliver. So I'm working with a client several weeks back. We do a biofeedback for her because she's really sick, and this isn't lifting. And of course, she's, quite convinced, COVID, something or other. And so I said, well, let's just do a biofeedback because I've never actually seen SARS-CoV-2 show up on any biofeedback for anybody. So let's just see what goes on. So we do that. And it was very interesting. She had all sorts of stuff. Like there was a lineup of pathogens that were going on for her. So it was biological warfare, Dungy virus, biological warfare, something else, normal Lyme, so no biological warfare Lyme, although that does exist. Okay. Coxsackie virus, Epstein-Barr virus, pneumonia, some other type of flu. Oh. So it was just this large amount of things. Wow. I said to her, you are probably the worst agent for your own immune system. And she said, well, what does that mean? And I said, because you're never putting yourself first. There's always all sorts of things that are more important than you sleeping or you taking care of yourself or you saying no or you putting up boundaries. It's because these people are important. This is important. That is important. My children are important. Everything else is really important. Their health, their welfare, and there she is falling somewhere in the mix of the 15 things she's going to think about. Till she was incredibly exhausted. That's the other thing that was showing up on biofeedback is just exhaustion everywhere.
I know that feeling.
Well, it was also interesting when we were treating something that while we're in that 10 minutes of energy treatment, it was for, as I said to you before the call, it was feel good. It was a feel good program. It's one of the things that we'll do at the end of the biofeedback a lot of time for my clients. And she was being called to do it right in the middle of the session. And so while she was doing this feel good protocol that was going to take about 10 minutes, I was just sitting in the empty space. And what comes in the empty space was new version of immunity. A new version of immunity. So not an upgrade of a current version, a brand new version for immunity. And the other thing that was coming in is this brand new version of immunity was coming in almost like a gift. It was coming in from our future self back to us. And so as I explained it to her to the best of my ability, it's like your immune system. So she was, because she'd been so sick, she had all of her dialogue. My immune system's broken. My immune system's destroyed. Whatever it is. And it's like, the picture that I was getting in my head is your immune system is just like sputtering, exhausted, but it's anything but broken. It just is it's keeping going, and that's what I was seeing. Like, you got to stop saying to yourself or anybody else that you've got a damaged immune system, you've got a broken immune system. It's like, no, it's working really hard to try and sort this, but it's facing some things that it's never seen before. And when we're facing things we've never seen before, it's got to try and figure it out. It's got to figure out how to get around it, how to get in it, how to be one with it, how to move it. It's got to understand some things. And in addition, it's got to kind of try to build a wall. I said, no, your immune system's working really hard. But with this new version of an immune system, it's like it can recognize something. It can recognize that biological warfare, dengue virus, whatever it is, and it can just move it. It recognizes it and moves it. You don't belong here, and I have the power. This immune system has the power. Her divine light has the power to move this. And so there's no discussion. There's no taking any valuable time to try and understand anything. It's just moved. Or the immune system just has this beautiful boundary, so it just doesn't enter in the first place. It's just like, you're not for me and I'm not for you. You go your way, I'll go mine. Right? And so I just thought, wow, how beautiful is this? So then it also shows up, I'm being reminded she's a 4th stage healing person. So 3rd stage and 4th stage healing people, they're just not here to heal little things for themselves. They're here to do much greater work for a much larger community of people. Sometimes tens of thousands of people will actually benefit from this person being in the predicament for whatever length of time this is. And so this became very clear to me. You put yourself in this position. You allowed for this. It's almost like there's a moment in time where your immune system went into a weakened state to bring all of this forward, because there's almost like a contract, a promise, an agreement, an understanding that when it's time, you will be first infected. You will first succumb to something that is profound enough that you won't be able to easily move it. And when you do, get to the place where this can be moved, it can be moved not just for you, it can be moved for hundreds of people, or potentially thousands of people, or in this case, tens of thousands of people are going to benefit, because it's like I'm working to explain to her, it's like you're all in this web. You're in this beautiful web. And so this has not lifted for you because, the angels, the guides, those working in the unseen world have been working to get everybody's footings into the place where it can lift for all of them. Tens of thousands of people were going to benefit from the work that we were doing that day, that started with biofeedback, but was much bigger than biofeedback. Biofeedback was not going to pick up any of this stuff. It wasn't going to pick up that she was a 4th stage healing person. It wasn't going to pick up that this was actually something that was going to shift for tens of thousands of people. And so that's why it had taken this length of time. And so it was absolutely beautiful. So she needed to say yes. She needed to, number one, understand there is a new version available to humanity, and she can say yes to that, and her yes is meaningful and potent. And I don't even want to use the word robust, because I really don't like that word, robust. But her yes is a yes that is spoken for tens of thousands of people today. Doors are going to open for that beautiful new version of immunity to come in that looks like was a gift coming back to us from our future self, to make it easier to navigate this time in our history, to make it easier for our immune system to recognize these things as foe and to recognize these things as something that they have the power to resist and the power to defend against and the power to move out and the power to boundary from in the first place, so it doesn't even enter into the cell. And that was beautiful. So and this person has been getting back to me pretty much on a daily basis to say, wow, everything's changed. Everything has changed. I feel so much better than I did. And it's dramatically different. And she was very happy to hear that potentially there were a lot of other people that were going to benefit from what she had said yes to. So then you or I are on the call. And of course I know that. I know the reality of that. So I thought, hey, this is an easy question. Let's just get clear and let's ask the question. You know, were you one of these people? I kind of knew the answer to that. You weren't one of the 10,000 people or so that were just get interfered with, but not that had doors opened to that reality. But I just asked, okay, I know about this, and you and I are here on this call, so I know about this, and would this be safe, appropriate, and highest and best interest to ask for you? To bring forward for you. And I got a yes. And I don't want to do anything that's not safe. It's my cover my ass affirmation. That's not safe, appropriate, highest and best interest of the all. And so I got yes. And then I asked the other question, which is, are there any blocks, reversals, resistances, interferences, obstacles, invisible obstacles that would, push against this or make a boundary to this? And the answer is no. And is there anything else that we need to consider? Nope. So we can just go full steam ahead with the asking of this as long as you're going to say yes to this. So that's kind of where, and that's kind of where we were. And that was lovely. And then we started to, and I wanted to say that out loud on this show, that there is a new version of immunity, a divinely guided version, a brought forward from our future self. And to me, even as we were talking about it earlier, I like to play the what if game. Like, what if that were true? Like the right brain, what if that were true? That there is this new version of immunity available to us that would literally deliver to us the coding and the understanding that right now our immune systems are trying, crazily to understand and figure out and know how to defend against. And all of that would just be there, gifted to us and given to us. Would you want to say yes to that? And of course you're saying yes in the what if game. But what I love is if we play the what if game, then we don't have to engage the left brain analytical, let's pull it apart, analyze it and blah, blah. No, we're not engaging that brain. We're just over here in la la land, what if, in visionary land, in connection with this beautiful universe, going, well, if that's true, whether it's a divinely guided version or whether it's a version that's come in from our future self, a gift back to us, I'd want to take that. I want to say yes to that. Okay, I'm going to say yes to that. In the imaginary world, when we're playing in the right brain, I'm going to say yes to that. And so if there's any reality to this, even though we're sitting in the imaginary world, just kind of envisioning that concept, our yes is our yes. The moment we say yes coming from the imaginary world of just imagining that potential, like Einstein knew this. The minute we say yes, no matter what world we're in the imaginary world, the visionary world, the left brain analyze it to death world, the moment we say yes, as long as it's safe, appropriate, and highest and best interest, it is done. And that corridor is open. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it's imaginary. It doesn't matter whether it's real. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what corridor it came into. If it exists, we're saying yes to it. We're saying yes to making our life easier. We're saying thank you to future self. We're saying thank you to that divine light within. We're saying thank you to Source. We're saying thank you for the mercy. Thank you for the gift. Thank you for the grace. Thank you for the help. Why would I not want to say yes? Because I put the back end on it, if safe, appropriate, and highest and best interest of the all. Because if it's not safe, appropriate, and highest and best interest of the all, and I've said yes to it, nothing happens. It fizzles away. And all I've done is wasted 30 seconds or a minute of my life. So I'm actually prepared to waste 30 seconds or a minute of my life to allow for something extraordinarily amazing to happen. Yeah, so I like that. And then the other piece that came to mind, because I didn't know we were going to talk about immunity today. So the other thing, which seems to be a topic that we couldn't even talk about, what, 2 years ago? We couldn't talk about immunity?
Yeah.
We weren't supposed to talk about immunity?
Yeah.
Pull that all off our websites? I had a couple of colleagues that literally were putting up beautiful posts about immunity when all of this COVID stuff first started to play out. And they had their posts taken down. You're not supposed to be talking about that. Anyway, here we are. Here we are talking about it. I hope this is going to be okay for your show. So I went and grabbed a piece of paper that I had just kind of put away in an easy place to find. And it is Lloyd Mear's numbers. Now, I'm only familiar with this person. He's written a book. He's written this big, huge book that people can purchase. He's about 80-something years old. Lloyd Mear, M-A-E-R, I think is all you need with a .com. His book is about $125, and that's probably US. I haven't purchased one yet, but I'm going to. It's going to be part of my library. I think this man is a very interesting man. He's an engineer by trade, so meticulous, detailed man, and has figured out so many things by numbers. So he has the numbers he's put forward for immune system boosting assist is what he calls it. And in his world of numbers, if he's put spaces in between things, then those spaces are important. So it's kind of like musical notes when you have spaces in between things. If you squish them all together with no spaces, then there is no real music based on how the composer created it. So we do have to pay attention to the spaces. When he has the numbers written in a line, he doesn't want you, when you see 36, he doesn't want you reading it as 36 with a space. He wants you reading it as 36. So to you, it looks like 36, but when you're actually saying it to yourself in your brain, it's not 36, it's 36 and then a space. So the immune system boosting numbers, the long thread of numbers, is 36 with a space, 1194 with a space, 48 with a space, 1 with a space, 0 with a space, 2 with a space, 1 5 with a space, 8. And that's the end of the numbers. He recommends that people would repeat those in their mind, or he actually prefers out loud, where your ears would hear you talking. Even if it's just a soft whisper, he prefers it. And he would recommend 7 times and you can, if you're a feeling person and you haven't shut off that feeling and that feeling of subtle energies, you'll start to feel the rising, like just an energy rising, like somebody's actually taken some helium and kind of puffed you up a little bit in a positive way. And I asked you after we repeated it 7 times whether you actually felt that, and you agreed that you had. It's almost like somebody, almost like a car jack, is like jack, jack, jack. And it's just like, oh, yeah, that does actually feel a little bit lifted. So that was the other thing you were discussing. And I thought that it would be a good thing just to say out loud on your show. And it was nice to see that in both of those circumstances, you had felt something shift. Right. I like to remind people of a divine hug. I know I sound like kind of a bit of a broken record, but I asked you about your lungs because one of the things that was scaring you a bit is that you were having problems breathing, and that's not necessarily a thing for you. No. So I asked you about your lungs, and I said, please pay attention to your lungs? Can you put a little focused attention to your lungs? And the first thing I like to remind people of, I want to sit with the brain. Like our brain is this incredible, beautiful thing here in our head. But to literally say to that brain, I love you, brain, but right now I'm asking you to receive. I'm asking you to play receiver of information. There are many places that we can speak to in consciousness within us, even beyond us. But we're never going to do that well if we don't have the brain functioning as receiver instead of wanting to function as creator of information or of a planner or the logic part of you. It's like, no, all of that's great. That's all left brain stuff. But right now, I just want the brain receiving from the consciousness, this time of the lungs, not the heart. So lots of times I want connection to the heart and to the gut brain, but this time I want a direct connection to the lungs. And then I like to just ask simple questions. You're sitting there in that connection, which is what we were doing before the call. And it's like, what is the feeling? And I'm getting brain to want to receive it when it comes in. What is the feeling? What's the emotion? What's the word? What's the phrase? What's the little movie? What's the color? Because sometimes people see in colors. I'm not a big color person. My son is, though. It's extraordinary. He's a very color person. So he'll be able to tell me his lungs are sitting there and they're black. Well, what's the color? Well, I'm just making it up. But if he was having a bad time, he might say that, oh, black. And I'd say, well, if the lungs were healthy and in divine connection to their own perfection, what color would they be? And he instantly gives me the color. Like it's an instant yellow. He just sees it. And then he very much gets this recognition. Well, the black that he's seeing right now is not yellow. And so then we're sitting there asking a question then for him. With connection to your own divine self, your own divine, can that divine light help to bring the black that's in your lungs right now to yellow? Can it help? And he instantaneously will say yes. And can that happen right now? And sometimes he'll say no. Okay, something else first. And so we start to investigate what else first, but ultimately we'll be able to find our way back to that divine helping to move the color of black for him to the color of yellow. So for you weren't playing in colors. No. You gave me a word, and your word that you gave me was struggling. And the first thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to meet the struggling word, which is in consciousness, your brain. And first of all, congratulating your brain for receiving that. Like, thank you for receiving that. What a beautiful thing to receive. The energy of struggling as the truth coming out. And then what I wanted to do is just kind of meet it with compassion. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to all those cells, to all those thousands of cells that would call themselves lungs, that the consciousness has come out today with the word struggling, with the energy of struggling. It's not just a word, it's the energy of struggling. I'm so sorry. And so if all of those cells that call themselves lung are struggling, so is my lovely Laurie in wholeness struggling. So I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. Sincerely said from heart. Compassion words. I'm not saying that I know how to fix anything, except I know that compassion can start that process hugely. And so now the cells, all those cells, are kind of feeling a connection to compassion. Like something's there. Something more powerful than where they are in struggle right now is there through compassion. So then I thought, well, what else do we have? We've got the universe. We've got divine compassion coming in from the universe. So let's bring in some of that. Divine compassion coming in from the universe. To surround all of Laurie. to surround the lungs of Laurie, to surround every single cell that is making up the lungs of Laurie. Let's just bring in that divine compassion for all of that. And that starts a healing process. That's an incredible therapy. I've said it before on your show. There's an incredible therapy that's going on. It's almost like, again, it's like a Michelin man hug. And that divine compassion coming in from the universe, and then coming in just through my I am sorry, and you're receiving that, like you're receiving, and I could feel it. Like as soon as I said it from that sincere place, you opened and you received that. Which meant in that moment, you joined me with my compassion, with your own compassion, and then you started to deliver compassion to yourself and compassion to your little lungs and compassion to the little cells. Isn't feeling compassion to themselves. But when I break it down to a cell, I break it down to one little cell or 5 little cells or 10 little cells that are part of the lung, and they're struggling. There's mucus that's just sliming all over them so that they can't breathe properly. And you're just picturing these little cells. It's like, who would not have compassion for little cells that have a bunch of mucus sliming them so that they're, I can't breathe. Why would you not have compassion for that? And as you have compassion for that, then that can start to build to, those little cells that are struggling there, they're me. They're me, they're part of me. They're not something separate from me. They're me. But I don't have compassion for me, but I have compassion for that, but that's just separate from, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's only separate in your own mind. It's only separate in your own mind because you're still angry with yourself about something. You're still holding a grudge against yourself about something, or a grudge to somebody else or whatever. So that's how we're making it all separate. But those little cells that are all slimed with that green goo and they can't breathe, they're not separate. They're not separate. And do they deserve that? Do I really deserve that? And then somewhere in all of that, for most of the people that I'm working with, we got a crack in the armor, and all of a sudden we got all sorts of divine love coming in and all sorts of really good stuff coming in, because at some point you really are sitting there going, no, those little cells don't deserve that. No, that's not right. That's just not right. No, something's got to change. No, I wanted to change. I wanted to change for those little cells, which means they're part of you, so you wanted to change for you, and it's all good. It's all starting to get much better. Because we made it about something so little. So little in what we might perceive as defenseless. But those cells aren't defenseless. They're not defenseless. And every single one of those cells just got a big, not even an upgrade, a new version of immunity coming into it. And they are anything but defenseless. And they all have connection to your own divine light within. So they are actually powerful, those little cells. And feel that as I say that. We didn't do this part when we didn't do it at all. But just feel that, feel, as I'm talking to you, feel that whole area of your lungs as I'm saying that. Those cells aren't defenseless. Those cells have an unbelievable connection to this new version of immunity. All those cells have an absolute connection to your own divine light. Yeah, it feels kind of interesting, right?
Yeah. Playful.
Yeah, playful. Yeah. So instead of serious, and I love that, thank you for that word. Instead of, so serious, my immune system's going down, everything just so serious, so like life and death, it's like, no, now we've gone playful. And it's reminding you of what you forgot or what you don't consider or what you don't see that way. So maybe it's not about forgetting, but it is about forgetting. It's, right? But it really is just not seeing it that way. Right. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot all you little cells have your own connection to my divine light. You have your own connection to that God within. Each of you have your own connection to that God within that's within me. Wow. I forgot. And who knows, maybe this new version of immunity is just a wake-up call to that. I haven't really investigated it. Maybe that new version of immunity is almost in an instant moving out shadow boxes and shadow codes and, activating light codes and doing all sorts of stuff that we're not even talking about. As it makes it easier for each cell to remember, oh, there's a God within you. There's a spark of light within you. Not just a spark of light within her, but there's a spark of light within you.
Each cell.
Each cell. And all spaces in between. And all spaces in between the spaces. So it kind of brings forward that, I think they've even said it maybe in the Bible, God is everywhere. Maybe they haven't, I don't know. But you've heard people say God is everywhere. But then somehow as you say that God is everywhere, it's like, but not within me. It's not a recognition that is within me, but it is everywhere. Oh, right, but you're not part of the everywhere. Right, but you're not part of the everywhere. And those cells within you aren't part of the everywhere, but God is everywhere.
Yeah.
But just not with you. And not with your cells. No. And not with those cells. And I love that you bring forward the word playful. Yeah, because that's the way it feels. Yeah. Let's get playful with this. Let's bring it into simple. Keep it simple, smarty. Let's get simple. Let's get playful. Let's get this reconnected, put back online in a playful way. Let's recognize we don't have to be the crispiest chips in the bag to be able to get this working again, to be able to get this connecting again, to be able to get this detoxifying again, to be able to get us back on our way again. That we don't have to have this profound knowledge of of anatomy to be able to do this, to be able to help ourselves, to be able to heal something. In my world, we definitely need a cooperative ego, or what I call a cooperative ego braid. We need to have a cooperative ego in our brain. So when I say to your brain, I need you to be that receiver, not the creator, not the planner, not the savior. I just need you to be the receiver. I need you to be able to receive what some other part of her is communicating. And communicate it with your mouth back to us. With your ability to receive pictures in your head back to us. With your ability to receive words, intuitions, feelings back to us. So that we can understand something better. But in all of this, when we hear that the lungs are struggling, do I have to know the anatomy of every cell that's going on with those lungs? Do I have to know the pleural? No. No, each one of those cells has a divine self, has a spark. And when we have lungs that are struggling, we know that they're lungs in a disconnected state. They're not online with that divine light intelligence within you. So I want to put it back online. Intention is everything. Quantum physics, intention is everything. What is my intention? To put that back online. How did it get offline? I don't know. Maybe we need to find that out. Maybe we don't. We'll find that out. But right now, I'd like to bring it back online. I'd like to bring that divine light. I'd like to turn the lights on again in those cells. And then kind of see where we're going. So these are kind of, we said a few things that were a little bit different than where we were at the beginning before we came onto the show. But for the most part, that was mostly where we were. And I had an intention, the only intention I had for coming on to the show today, because I was just like, this is the thing I've been talking about. This has been the thing I've been thinking about. So maybe we could make a show of this. It was just Jupiter.
Right.
And I could totally see how Jupiter and it being the planet of giving was very related to what was going on here. It was you giving yourself the capacity to maybe heal something that you just thought, to heal something where your psychology was, immunity so weakened I can't. And it's interesting, do we actually give things to people we see are in such a weakened state that we don't think that they're capable, or, it's a very interesting psychology. Like who we gift to, who we give to. Anyway, Jupiter is the planet of giving. And it was Nidhu Kapoor, in her wonderful decrees that brought that forward to me. I don't consider myself to be the wisdom deliverer on astrology or astronomy. I've had a very lovely interest in both of it, but I've never sat to be a student of any of it. But she brought forward Jupiter and this concept of the giving planet and the decrees of I am willing. And she said 3 times you would say that, I am willing, I am willing, I am willing. I like to take a breath in between them. Breath in, breath out. And so for here, what I had said to you before the class, or before us today, is just saying, I am willing, I am willing, I am willing to allow for healing to come to this situation. Or what she brings forward is just to say, I am willing, I am willing, I am willing, and that's it. Not to put any tag on the back end of it. Just to be in deep connection to the power of Jupiter, the electromagnetic power of Jupiter through those statements. And then to be deeply in connection with the universe. And then to just feel it. I am willing. I am willing. I am willing. I am willing. It's almost like your hands up to the universe. I am willing. I am willing. I'm not putting anything on the back end of this. I'm just willing. I am willing. And just seeing where the day goes. It's a very grounded statement. But in this particular instance, we were talking about you, and it was just, not just I am willing, I am willing, I am willing, and feeling that statement and the power of that statement in connection to Jupiter, connection with the universe. It's literally to sit with what this trouble is, this immune trouble, this illness, this fatigue. I am willing, I am willing, I am willing to allow this fatigue, this illness that's been troubling me since, the end of September. I am willing to allow this to heal. To allow me to be better. We didn't talk about this, but this is coming in. Permission. Sometimes it's permission. Feel this and see how this feels. Okay. I am giving myself permission to feel better. And do you want to say that out loud? You might actually feel, I'm saying it for two reasons. Number one, I do believe Lloyd Mear when he says there is an interesting thing that happens when you say it out loud.
Right.
And you can hear yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, no, as soon as you said that, it's like something opened up.
Right.
It's like, oof, like relaxed.
Right. I am giving myself permission to feel better. And it's interesting, you're still not saying it out loud.
What?
That statement.
Oh, you want me to say it out loud?
Yeah.
Right,
I'm giving myself permission to feel better.
I am giving myself permission to feel better.
Yeah. Now let's expand it. I'm giving myself permission to feel better about life.
About life? I'm giving myself permission to feel better about life.
I'm giving myself permission to feel better about my life.
I am giving myself permission to feel better about my life.
I'm giving myself permission to feel better physically.
I am giving myself permission to feel better physically.
You feel the power of these? Mm-hmm. I'm giving myself, we're playing. Right now we're just playing.
Right.
I'm giving, and you'll tell me whether there's anything, right? We're just going to throw out some things because you've got listeners, right? So we're just going to throw out some things and see where that lands for you and see where it lands for somebody else that's listening. I'm giving myself permission to feel better emotionally.
I am giving myself permission to feel better emotionally.
I'm giving myself permission to feel better mentally.
I am giving myself permission to feel better mentally.
Giving myself permission to feel better spiritually.
I am giving myself permission to feel better spiritually.
Here's an interesting one. Never said this one out loud. I think it's important. I'm giving myself permission. I'm giving my inner child permission to feel better.
I'm giving my inner child permission to feel better. Yeah, I felt stuff with that.
Yeah, no kidding, right? I've never said that statement. That had third eye impact. Yeah, it's interesting. I've been led back to inner child, but never to that statement. The one that's feeling better and then going right back to that timeline. Which means giving that inner child aspect of ourselves, so that ourselves at that earlier time frame in life, permission for things to be different for them. Permission for things to be different for us in wholeness that go back to them. And inner child is more connected to spirit. Again, playful.
Playful. Yeah.
Again, playful. Playful, fun. Yeah, very cool.
Very cool.
Well, that wasn't somewhere where that just came. That was very nice, and that was very impactful for me too. So you play the mirror for me as I look at your bubble. Say, here I am in the presence of this bubble. Here I am in the presence of this electromagnetics, and I'm allowed to see that. So I thank you for allowing me to see that.
I thank you too.
Well, because your issue, as I see it, was my issue. So I allow myself to be in the presence of my mirror, safer to see my own issue through the mirror of another. So that as I repeat it for you, I've said it out loud. I can feel that change. I can feel that change for you. One of the reasons why I say we don't heal alone. We don't heal on our own. We use mirrors a lot. Yeah. So now we're sitting at an inner child, and I was right with Jupiter, and I was right with I am willing. And it feels right. Like, okay, so here we are with inner child. We freed inner child within us to have a better life, to be better, to feel better, and to feel better about themselves. So we freed that up. So, and all of this came out while I was right in this place of I am willing, I am willing, I am willing. So now I'm sitting here going, how do we combine the two? How do we combine the two? How do we bring in a willing statement that connects to inner child, that allows for us to maybe step more beautifully into our future from our present? I don't know. I don't know. Like, is it I am willing, I am willing, I am willing to, I don't know, to allow that inner child, to allow that inner child aspect of myself to step more fully into the future that I am designing, that I'm currently working to envision.
Well, that would help you live the best life. We sort of touched on that briefly the last time, about living our best life. And I'm not sure we did it on the show. I think we did it afterwards, but...
Yeah, well, I don't think we live our best life without connection to that inner child that is deeply connecting into playfulness and spirit. Yeah, so that's interesting. So with no permission for the inner child to feel better about something, and to feel better about something, to feel better about themselves, boy, that really just kind of locks something up and doesn't allow it to be free. So just beautifully continuing on to something that we were working on last time.
I've been thinking about it a lot.
Oh.
It's going to be my next blog. I just haven't gotten around to it. But yeah.
Yeah. I am willing, I am willing, I am willing to allow that inner child aspect of me in deep connection with spirit to be a beautiful part of the life being envisioned now and into the future.
I like
not caging that spirit, not caging that inner child. And I'm not investigating right now. Maybe I'll feel like I want to after this call, but I'm not investigating right now how did that happen? How did the inner child get in a pickle of being stuck in the not being able to make something better? But sometimes that does happen when we are hurt, when somebody has hurt us, betrayed us, hurt us, abused us, whatever that is. And now we're going to stay in that place of not being better and not feeling better to somehow push this issue, to somehow make sure that people see. You know, I'm not the same person that I was. You know, there's a light of me that's not quite there. There's a playfulness that's not quite there. Do you care? Are you watching? Are you paying attention? To the people out there? Or to the person that hurt me? I'm just going to stay in this place. Ego's always involved. I'm going to stay in this place, holding this space, stuck in this place, frozen in this place.
Fear of the unknown.
Until you get it, until you change or you apologize or you step up or you elevate yourself. Until you change. And as I stay stuck here, hopefully it's obvious that I'm missing. Hopefully it's obvious to somebody who might be paying attention that I'm not the inner child aspect with full connection to spirit isn't really here anymore. Not the way they used to be. Just thoughts. Just thoughts to say it because, you know, people will be listening. So these are places that I've been in my office with people. I don't know whether this is even needing to be further investigated, but that's sometimes where the investigations will go. The idea of that person who hurt, that person who harmed does not deserve for me to show up as feeling better. They don't deserve that. So I will stay in this place and punish them.
Mm-hmm. Only punishing yourself, but yeah.
And make sure that they understand the harm that they did.
Right.
And what just got destroyed here.
Right. Well, that was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's always interesting having a show with you, Tracy. We never know where it's going to go.
Yeah. Well, Jupiter, guys, it's the closest it's going to be, so use it as the giving planet. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I didn't know where this was going to go either, but it's interesting.
It is. All right. Well, you have been listening to News of the Heart, and we've been getting to the heart of what matters with Tracy McBurney and our immunity and our inner child.
And willingness.
And willingness, for sure.
For life to be better.
Willingness for life to be better. Yes. All right. Thank you, Tracy.
Okay. Thank you, Laurie.